There it goes.
Go by the
Hey,
hip.
how's everybody doing? We are live. It is May 5th, and this is the Horse Racing Roundtable on the BetWise Sports Network. You know, I'm Don Ricci, a.k.a. Dommy Gun, and I'm here with my partner, Big Ragu. I am here with my buddies, Goji and Gas Station Sushi, and we will be joined soon by our old buddy, DJ Big Boss, and then the other horse racing legend, Guillermo Zertucci. So we got a good crew tonight, man. We're gonna talk about the racing form. We're gonna go into some basics. We're gonna get everybody up to tune on the sports on horse racing and capping. So it'll be fun. So anyhow, Doc, how you doing tonight, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm glad to see we got our guys with us. Our two experts, Goji and of course Gas.
I was gonna say the same to you guys there. We got three guys that you guys got a lot more years of experience on me, so I appreciate just being here on this late night.
I'm with you, Goji. I'm on the back end of that.
I won't argue the experience
part.
I will not argue the experience part, but anyways, we've been having a lot of fun, on Saturdays and weekends, and Jimmy doing his thing during the week, and of course us collaborating on the weekends, having a lot of fun, having some success. And I think a lot of guys that are kind of got exposed to horse racing during the event that's going on, a lot of guys that would probably never have watched horse racing before have had some questions on some of the basic stuff. What does some of the stuff in the program mean? A lot of people tail us, they're asking us questions. It's kind of hard to follow along in the chat while we're trying to cap. So tonight we're going to try to answer the questions in the chat, and then probably I know you got some kind of outline, but basically we'll probably look at covering the form a little bit and some basic bets, and then we can elaborate at another night. We can get more into detail with some of the more exotic stuff like the pick threes, the pick fours, and stuff like that. But basically we'll try to get these guys a little more familiar with the DRF form, and then some of the stuff that we look at when we go to the track, and how do we calculate our horse picks. What do you say to that?
That sounds good. What do you say to that?
Spot on.
Yeah.
Hey, let me bring in Guillermo.
Kind of explain a lot of things.
Go ahead.
I'm going to bring Guillermo in. He's backstage.
Hey, G.
What's up, you guys?
Yo, what's up, G?
Hey, man.
What's the word?
You made it home from work?
I made it home on time, yeah.
You got those cases of wine out there?
I got them all. I was hustling today.
He's one of those necessary. He's one of those necessary jobs, Guillermo. Yeah.
People need to drink right now.
I feel you on that, G. I'm working that essential shit too.
Oh, man.
There you go.
Hey, G, what are you doing for the Cinco de Mayo out there in California today?
Sleeping. I got to work tomorrow. I got to be up
You sleeping it in. That's probably a smart thing to do.
It's Tuesday.
Yeah.
How you guys doing today? Everyone good?
We're all good,
my friend.
We're all good. We're ready to get started. And why don't we just start? Ragu, why don't we just start with you with the, just a couple of things people, start looking at in the racing form, how to read the basics, go over some of the things so we could,
You want me to bring the tutorial up on the screen and go that route, and then just kind of?
Why not?
I was going to say that.
Okay, so what we'll do is I'm going to put a link. Matter of fact, there's a link. Let me put the link up here first. I put a couple links in here. I'll put the one link right now, though. This is for if you guys want to go online. I know everybody's got a computer nowadays. So if you go to DRF, you wouldn't be watching us if you didn't have a computer unless you're watching on the phone. But anyways, if you go to DRF's website, the Daily Racing Forum, they have a tutorial which is really nice. It shows you how to navigate the racing form. It explains everything, what all those numbers mean, and the lettering and anything to do with the race itself. But anyways, we're going to take it from the very top of the page, and we're going to start off with the race, the track, and all that stuff. So let me click into that, and I'm going to go in and bring that in real quick.
And then we'll see if we have to
We lost somebody.
We lost two.
Two guys.
We lost two of them.
No, I'm right here.
Okay. We lost gas.
Oh, we lost gas. All right. Let me see. Let's try it again.
Try to get the tutorial first, and then I'll get.
Then you bring gas back in. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, his connection must have cut out because he's
okay.
he's not in the
So
studio.
we're gonna shrink ourselves down a little bit here. So, anyways, when you come up to the to that link, okay, and I'll bring that link back in the screen here so everybody can see it. This is the address right here. So when you go to this address, the drf.com/flash, read it all out. I'll leave that up here for a minute. And I'll put it back at the end of the show. You go back in here, and this is like the opening to the DRF. When you buy a form, it costs you probably like $5-6, and it gives you all the tracks that you want to play for the day, more or less. And with this form, it starts out with this. Okay, right away you can see it says race number. It's Aqueduct is the track, and race number 8. And then it has all the conditions that are tied into that race, meaning that it's a description of what is going on for that race. It tells you how the race is 1 mile. It's a claiming race, and a claiming race is basically a horse that you have an opportunity to buy before the race starts if you're interested. But that's a whole nother subject. But anyways, you have the track, you have the race number, and you have the purse, what they're running for. They're running for 7,500 class, and the purse is $14,000. In horse racing, the winner gets 60% of the purse, and I think second place gets 20%, and then they play it all the way down to, I think, 4th or 5th place. But so that's it. And then another important thing is the post number. So the post number is basically, the horse number. You have the horse information. You have the horse's name is Say Hey CJ, and it gives you the morning line odds, which is the morning line odds. That's basically for every dollar you bet, it says 2 to 1. So if you bet $5, you're going to get $10. You're going to basically double your money on the win. You get $6. So you're gonna make a $10 profit basically. So that's your odds per every dollar that you bet. And then over here you have the what they call the information on the horse itself, the sire, the money that was spent to breed or buy, depending upon if it was sold at auction. It gives you the parents' information, gives you the breeder information, and it gives you the trainer's record. So the trainer here has ran 22 races. He's only won 1 time, so it's not very good. It's a 5% win rate, which that's a tough way to make money at the track. And then you have, and that number there, the 22. What that tells you is how many races that trainers ran at that track. And then the 2009, this is when this form was put together. That's his yearly record. So he's a 13% winning rate trainer for the year 2009. He ran 213 races. He won 27, but at that particular track, he's only won 5% of his races. So for some reason, he's not doing very well at that track. So we'll leave it at that for now, and then we can elaborate on that information right there. So basically, you have the track conditions. You have what the horse, and the horse is 7 years old too, and it gives the color. Now here's another real important thing, the top line item. This is the horse's record now. Okay, we've seen the trainer stuff. So here now, this horse has ran 37 times in his lifetime. He's won 14 races, came second 6 times, and 4th, 3rd. And that's part of the stuff we're going to cover. We're going to cover some real basic bets. So you could make what they call a win bet, a place bet, and a show bet. Win, place, and show. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So anyways, this horse, like I said, 14 wins in his lifetime. And he's won $892,000 in purse money, and so far for the 2010 season, he's ran 3 times. He has 0 wins, 0 seconds, and he came 3rd twice. And this little number here, that's his speed, is what they call a buyer speed. That's how you can tell how quick the horse made it around the track. The higher the number, the better. You can see his best time is like a 110, and then in 2009, he ran a 109. So at one point in his time in his life, he ran at 110 speed rating. So, and I'll let our experts kind of elaborate on some of that later on. But basically, across the top, you have the trainer information. And did I get the jockey information too? Did we miss that?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, no, here's what I did. All right. So what we're supposed to do here is, like I said, you have the post position 1. You have the owner. You have the what they call the silks. Now the silks are, you always see the number on the horse. So a lot of guys might not know this that are new. The horses, the jockey is outfitted with what they call silks. In other words, his uniform he's wearing. So they're colors. So sometimes it's hard to tell the number. But if you're looking at his silks, and they always tell you, like, this guy's wearing a blue and white with and I'm going to assume that's navy with a blue cap. So his hat is blue. He's got blue and white and navy possibly. So that's what I'm thinking. That's what that means. And then the jockey himself is S. Russell. He's ran 69 races. He's won 9 times, 5 seconds, 11 thirds, and 13% for the meet. That's for the track record. And then his annual for the year so far, 878 races, 104 wins, and he's won 12% of his races. And that's a real basic look on the top part of the form. So we can elaborate on that.
When you first look at a race and you look at that form, the first things you are looking at are the type of race, right? The surface it runs on, stuff like that, right?
All the conditions, yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. The distance, yeah. Also, how was it a speed race? Was it a closing race? That's another thing. I don't know if you have that, like the time form, like the pace form. That's another thing I always look at to see if the horse is, is it an early horse? Is it a late horse? That's another thing I've really put into my capping there. So, because yeah, like if you have like a 5 furlong race and you got an early horse compared to a late horse, you're gonna want the early horse in a 5 for the most part. Yeah, I just find time forms are pretty important too, guys.
Yeah. DJ, welcome in, brother. Can you hear
Hey,
me?
DJ.
What up, though? Am I in there? I'm in the show. Oh, there I am.
Yeah, welcome in, man.
What's going on, fellas?
We take prisoners here. We don't. You ever heard us say we don't take no prisoners? We take prisoners. Come on in,
man. It's hot. It's hot, man. I don't even know
It's
if
hot
I'm
out
thinking
here.
straight.
No.
It's hot.
What's going on out there? You having a heat wave?
It feels
starting
like
to.
one, man. It feels like August, September type heat right here in May.
Yeah. Starting
But
tomorrow
it's
is going
hot.
to heat up out here.
No lights on for me today, man. That's a little crack from under the garage, and that's it. I don't know if y'all can hear the fan in the background, but
No, we're good.
it's hot.
burn that fucking virus up out there, man. That's what you got to do. Burn it up.
Right.
Yeah, burn it
So
up.
yeah, we were just getting started with the racing form and a couple things people could look at and stuff. I'm not sure how much people really know about reading the racing form and really do they really understand what the distances are and what's a furlong, how many furlongs are in a mile, things like that. I mean, just a few basics we could probably touch on too, and then go into some of the things you guys look at and stuff. So, for instance, a furlong is there's 8 furlongs in a mile, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the rule of thumb they say is that a furlong should be run in how many seconds?
12 seconds or
12
less.
seconds? 12 or less.
Average 12.
I'm sure that's some stuff like people don't know about that. When they're looking at the times and stuff and looking at the past performances, what they're really looking at as far as times are concerned. You want to elaborate on that there, Go? You looked at speeds and stuff.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I don't know, Gas would know more than this, but I don't think you'd see like if a horse first 12 seconds. Like if you see a horse under 12 seconds,
I'm gonna bring in the thing for the times too.
Then that's pretty huge. But yeah, for the most part, I'm learning from Gas. 5 furlong workouts. That's your key one right there, guys. You see a horse running consistent 5 furlong workouts, then it's prime for a longer, not so much a longer race, I want to say, but it's ran out a little more. So, yeah, when it comes to the second there, I think a Gas station maybe can elaborate a little more on that.
The 5 furlong is probably the gold standard for works as far as positive factors, but the way more important 5 furlong work is the 5 furlong gate work. Is really significant, okay? And it's one of those things, and I talk about handicapping in general. You try to get positive factors that aren't already built into the line. right? So, and that goes for sports and horses. And you're trying to find stuff that is like that. And I've got into some of that other stuff, and I can get into it later. But yeah, I don't want to steal Goji's thunder here, but that's kind of like, yeah, that's the most important work is the 5 furlong gate work. And it doesn't have to be necessarily blazing, but it shows a lot of intent on the part of the trainer, because
So what kind of times are you looking at?
What's that?
What kind of times are you looking at when you're looking at that? Like,
I mean,
what are the numbers you're looking at?
It depends on the level, right? I mean, if it's a maiden claimer or whatever, but for allowance, you're looking for probably something under 101. I mean, I've seen gate works at 58, even 57s, which is really like a race. That a lot of races are run like that, but for stakes horses, that's kind of a really great work too. There's also a little bit of art with that science, and the fact that some trainers work faster than others, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's one guy that you always.
Gas,
right.
What's the difference between a gate work and a not gate work? If you're looking at the form, how could you tell if it was a gate work?
Oh, it shows right in there. It has a G. I believe it's a G designation on there at the bottom.
It does show
on the DRF. Yeah.
Go in there and see if I can find
I
that.
believe so.
I'll see. I see a B beside it. I guess see 5 furlong with a B.
A B, yeah, that means breezing.
That's breezing, yeah.
That B means they're breezing, yeah. I think if you see an HG, that's a workout gate.
Is it HG? Okay, I know there's a G in there somewhere. Yeah. Right. The other thing I was going to say
that is stock on the racing form.
Yeah, I got it here. I'm going to see if I can bring it in.
Right.
So we'll show you where the workouts, because I'm not even sure people know where that, where to find that stuff. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's going to be hard to see on here, but if you can see it at the top half of the program, right underneath where he has the racing, the individual races. If you look right at the bottom of that, it says works. It's kind of hard to see on the screen right here. And this horse has got like 2 works, and I'll read them to you because you probably can't see it. His works were 36 seconds. He was 1 of 5. It says 36 and it says B and then 1/5. In other words, he had the fastest bullet. And the bullet, what a bullet is, a bullet is, with the B, and it designates a little period, a black dot that tells you that's an easy way to find a bullet work. And all a bullet work means is the fastest work of the day. So he is
at
1
that
of 5.
distance, yeah.
At that distance, right. 3 furlongs. Yeah, 3 furlongs in 36 seconds. And then even before that one, he was 1 of 1. So he worked by himself that particular day. He only ran looks like he ran a mile on that one. 1:42, 1 of 1. So that's not a very good work tab to kind of analyze, but basically
big gap.
That's what it is. So, but the main thing there is you're looking at the B and the little black dot that tells you that's the best work of the day at the distance. So
right, and so there, you get all these past performances. They're all very similar, like the Briss past performances. You have the Equibase ones. The speed figures are not the same because DRF has like copyright on buyer numbers, but they all have speed numbers, and they also have like little slightly different variations in the coding. And I was just looking on the Equibase for tomorrow for the second race at Tampa. If you guys have
right there
for tomorrow,
I'm right at that. That's funny you say that. I'm looking right at that race.
yeah. So you see the number 5 Alvarado, right? On mine Equibase. The 5 horse in the second race at Tampa for tomorrow. It shows on mine on Equibase, it just says 5 and then it has a G next to it, and then it says 103.2. I'm not sure exactly how it shows up on DRF. But that's what it shows up.
Was that a workout?
Yeah, that's
103.2 work.
Yeah. So
I got May 2nd here, 103.1, 6 out of 11, and that was from the B out the gate, BG.
Yeah. BG, okay, yeah. So it's a breezing out of the gate, I believe.
Breezing out of the gate, yeah.
Yeah.
Now explain what breezing is, so they understand what that is. What is breezing?
Yeah, well, that's subjective, right? I mean, okay, first of all, like if you've ever gone and got up and got out to a racetrack at like 5 a.m. or whenever the dawn hits, wherever that racetrack is, it looks like complete chaos because there's probably 30 horses out there just kind of running around. I mean, in like kind of random order, and they just start a work and they're kind of in a jog and then they build up and then they start like pushing them. So a handily is basically that the jockey will move his hands some, and then breezing, I believe, is like they're just holding like a hammer lock on them. That's what I understand, but it's a little bit subjective. Some circuits will have almost everything breezing, and then some of the circuits will have everything handily.
Could you see that term a lot?
Yeah,
more so than anything else.
As a layman, as me going out there and not be able to spot horses, it just looks like chaos. But they have clockers out there that know what's going on, and they can identify the horses because they don't have saddlecloth or anything on them. And and they can identify the horse and figure out when the work starts and when the work ends. And
there's some gamesmanship in that too, as far as revealing information for competition too. I heard they play games with the work.
It's one of those things that they can't really hide it too much from a sharp clocker, right? Because like DRF will have a clocker, and then there's private clockers like Toby Terrell was a kind of a famous one in Southern California for a long time, and I think John Lindo was out there too. Yeah,
and Bruno the Julio,
Bruno.
Bruno.
Yeah, right. Bruno, for different publications, right? For Racing Digest, I believe. Yeah, right. So anyways, it's great information to have the works because it can tell you a lot about the wellness of the horse.
Mm-hmm. Hey, DJ, is that something you look at workouts when you're looking at horses?
Absolutely not, man. I'm over here taking notes at as in depth as y'all going, man. But for all those beginners that's in the chat, and there's a lot of beginners over there, I'm gonna tell y'all, these guys may be a little over your head. It's definitely great knowledge. It may be a little bit over your head. Just get out there and get used to laying your bets and loving the game. Just like any other sport, you gotta love the game. At some point, don't forget about that, because you can look at these gate workouts and these times and all that stuff, and everybody knows what horse racing. It could just be one horse day, or sometimes you should get a gut feeling, or you could watch the numbers. There's like maybe I would say there's almost countless angles that you can approach horse racing from, and these are some great ones, used by some of the best. But you'll be surprised. Some of the people that hang out at the racetrack and use a lot of simple methods and win a lot of money or win at a good rate, and sometimes it's just as simple as, following the numbers. Or me, myself, at certain tracks, like when we went to Gulfstream, Big Ragu let me know that it's a chalky track at times, right? So I watch the money sometimes. So if they run chalk, they run chalk, they run chalk. I'm going to be looking for them not to run chalk, because they're not going to have people coming back if they continue to run chalk. And that's a good way to hit a horse at a nice price. So, there's several different angles that I approach it. But, yeah, I'm over here taking notes on some of this stuff right here that's going on.
Yeah,
I have my own process that I go through.
Right. A guest has a process, which is, like DJ said, definitely in depth. That's something we can get to at a later point. We can even do a part 2 and get into the real advanced stuff, But I was just trying to stick to the racing form for a minute and just show people where they can find some good information just to get themselves started. For instance, the comments that are on the side are very helpful, especially for somebody new. Or where they find if this horse is running in this type of race before, between a maiden race and a claiming race. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know the differences in that.
Yeah. Well, the main thing they need to look at is, if you're just starting out horse racing, you always want to, a lot of people play the names, the colors, the numbers, whatever. That's fine and dandy if you just want to go have some fun. But if you want to take your game up just a little bit more, you got to know some of the minor nuances. You got to know how to make a wager to start out with. That's the most important thing. If you're going at the track, if you just want to go to the track and watch the horses run, that's nice too. But if you want to make a wager, you have to make a minimum bet of $2. And I suggest if you're making your first wager, you make a win bet, and that's all you got to do is focus on your horse crossing the finish line first. So, and that's the object of horse racing is to win. And usually the horse that runs the fastest wins the race. And that's why these numbers, after you get through crunching all these numbers and looking at all these angles and whatnot, they're here to win the race. So that would be a very good place to start talking about, how to make a win bet. That's pretty basic. But anyways, that's where I would start.
Let me say something for everybody that's watching too that I know for a fact about two of the guys on this screen right here. One is Gas Station Sushi. This guy comes with a briefcase, a laptop. He has stuff already printed out from the night before. Like let me tell you, the betting process for this guy is basically just getting to the window and putting it in. It's already done when he gets there. And I'm not just talking about one track or a specific race. I may be at several tracks, several races that he's already keyed in up with his thing. And that's Gas Station Sushi, right? Now, Big Ragu, this guy, he's a little tech guy, man. He might have his little iPad, a laptop or something. He gets some printed out sheet. I don't know where he gets it from. He gets some kind of printed out sheet, and he gets to jotting his little stuff down. And I don't know how he pulls these magnificent numbers. Like when we was in Vegas and he pulled off that win, that wonderful win. I mean, he's just sitting there. I don't know if it was between him and the screen or something. Like, he has a real good natural feel for it, but he's definitely equipped with all kinds of tools. And the guy knows the horse's daddy when he was born, all kinds of way out information just from being from Florida around where he's at. But also he knows stuff about the farms. Big Ragu can go deep into a lot of areas of horse racing. So I'm telling you, if you guys are starting off, listen to what these guys are telling you, but know that the end of this, of what you see and what they're telling you right now, it comes from hard work, tools, preparation, and watching the game, man. And my hat's off to both of you guys, man. I learned a lot. It's like I'm at a no loss hanging out with you guys betting horses,
No, dude.
Yeah.
Appreciate the kind words. I wish some of that was true you were saying, but I appreciate it, man.
Oh, man.
Guillermo, what's a couple of things that you look for right away that you think people should, especially somebody new? What is like 3 or 4 things that a new person that opens the form should kind of look at in a race?
Basically, the way you guys started off, you go from the top, and I kind of work my way down. I'll start with the distance, the purse, the surface. And then I just work my way down, look at the conditions. If these horses have ran at the distance, ran for what kind of money they're running for, then I'll go down, look at works, and then I'll start doing a process of elimination. I like to use the race rating, and what I do is I'll add up their last 3. I'll add up the last 3, and I'll put their numbers up, and I'll put it next to their names. And what I do is I'll go do every horse like that, every horse in that race. I'll pick up the top ones, and then I basically do a process of elimination, and that's how I come out with the horses that I'm going to be betting.
So when you're looking at the last 3, is that more like what they call like a horse that's running into form per se?
Exactly.
Or you just kind of use that as a gauge?
Now, if you look at the form next to where they have the odds, they have a race rating number. I'll get those last 3 numbers for the last 3 races. I'll add them all up, come up with the total, and then I'll write it down, that number next to those horses. And then I'll pick the top 5. And then that's where I figure out which one I like, and that's why I come up with that's my process.
Wow. That's neat, man. That's awesome.
I learned that.
I'm writing stuff down too, Coach.
I learned this from this old school
chat before we keep on going. First of all, a big shout out to Danielle Ragusta for stopping in. Glad that she came in to say hello. She was in right at the beginning. But the first one in, of course, was Pocket Full, who's always here supporting us there on the Saturday races. Boston Nick, Stelly, Cranky Rick, Let's see who else is there. Nilo, of course. Who else? Who else? Who else? I know there's a whole bunch of people on Periscope. How's everybody doing? Geraldo Hernandez, Michael Grant, Young, everybody. Thank you for stopping in. It's appreciated for sure. So go ahead. Hey, Ski Prophet, of course, is in the house. Thanks, Ski.
Hey, Ski.
Another one trying to capitalize on this horse racing thing. He was with us in Gulfstream and last year too with our big race day, and it was a lot of fun. I'm sure we still talk about it actually now. Hey, Goji, I noticed something with you that you're always looking for closers in races. I
know. I do tend to look at that. I'm not too sure.
Tell them what a closer. What's your definition of a closer?
Okay, so a closer. First thing is I'm going to usually look at the time, the pace. Like I want to see that it's a late. You got to see that it's more of a late closer. Not just that, guys. You want to see also the types of races it was racing in. So was this horse closing in $8,000 maiden claimers, or was a horse closing in 20K maiden specials? So there's a difference in class that the horses are running in. That's big too. So I'll look at that along with the late pace that a horse has. You also look at what it's done in the past. You see its numbers. If I'm looking right here, I can see a horse 10th to 10th to 10th to 4th. So it had a major close here in a 7 furlong race. That's another thing too, guys. You really got to look at the distance. If a horse is a closer, is it a closer at 1 1/8, 1 1/16, or 5 furlongs? Like what is it? What type of closer is it? So that's kind of, I guess, how I'd look at a closer is the type of race, the pace form it has, and the distance. Combine all those and find your closer.
So the closer it might not be obvious, but a closer is a horse that just likes to come from behind. There's a lot of horses that like to go out in the front and just run and just speed. They just run and they run as fast as they can for as long as they can. And there's some horses that sit back. They kind of wait. They kind of take their time, wait for their right move, and then they have a first to shoot out. And that's
there's one more thing I want to get at too. It's another thing Big Ragu always looks at. A horse like Lemon Drop. Lemon Drop's like a mile. It's a turf horse. So when you know like the sire of the dams, what type of races they've ran, that's another big thing too. Like some horses are 5 furlong horses, and that's what they're kind of bred towards, right, guys? Like they're 5. They're not 1.5 miles for the most part, or 1 1/8. So certain horses like Lemon Drop that you want to look at like a mile, right? Regular 1 1/8.
Yeah, the distance. He needs distance to close the race. He's not going to close a 5 furlong race. He'll close a mile, 1.5 miles, mile and 3/8, mile and 1.25, or 1 mile and 1/16, 1.8 miles more commonly. But yeah, that's the other thing, guys. The big thing is always with the when you're looking at that top line information, like with the horse number and the track information, like Goji was saying, class is a big thing when it comes to horses. And what class is basically like you're taking a horse that say like never won a race going against a Derby champion, let's say. So it's kind of like an uneven match. So and horses, what they do is they kind of graduate from one class to another. So as they win, they'll run against tougher competition. So and how you determine what that is the actual that number, that first number I showed you earlier. Matter of fact, I'll just put it back on the screen real quick. Let me do that. I hate to keep going back to this thing because it's kind of hard to read, but just to show you how important this is here, I'm going to highlight this first thing and put it back in. Let me go back in there and do it. Let's see, race number.
So
track diagram. This thing's giving me a hard time now all of a sudden. Okay, there we go. Okay, so let me go back in there and show it again. Did it show up yet?
There you go.
There you go.
Okay, so we'll go back to the race number first. Okay, right up here. See where it says 7,500? I don't know if can you see that on the screen? Is that legible? Anyways, when you right up here in this area, it'll say the type of race is. It says claiming B or 7,500 B. 7,500 is a very low level. We'll just throw some numbers out there. You got 6,000, you got 7,500, you got 16,000. Those are all very low numbers. When you see anything like 75,000 and up, then you start getting into what they call allowance races, which are better class horses. But anytime you see a CLM or an MDM, that's a maiden. A maiden race is a horse that's never run a race. So all those horses that are running in that race have never won a race. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to break what they call break their maiden and win their first race. And when they do that, depending on how many races they win from that point forward, they'll step their competition up against other horses that have done the same type of thing. So what you don't want to do is burn a bunch of money up, especially if you're just starting out and you're trying to figure out how to bet horses. But these are things you got to study on yourself. You got to sit here and look at the type of race it is, and what the purse monies are. So the higher the purse, like the highest you can run in horse racing is what they call a grade 1. Then you go down to a grade 2, grade 3. Then you get into what they call stake races, and then you get into allowance races. But the maiden races and the claiming races, those are tougher races to win, but you can make a lot of money at them because those are where our guy Gas Station loves those races because there's a lot of long shots that hit them boards in those type of races. Not to say that they don't hit in the richer races, but the thing about the richer races, the bigger races, the pools are usually a little bit bigger. But the savvy gamblers, the savvy horse players, they're actually pretty good at going and looking at these first-time runners and these maiden horses and these claiming races. They can pick out their, they have their little systems that they play. But anyways, that's a difference in the class. That number there, that 7,500, that's a pretty low number there to as far as a class horse goes. So that number just changes as the horses, as they progress. They move on from their success that they have at the track, whether they win or lose, depending upon that. So that's what you got to look at.
How important is that, Yes? How important is the class? What do you look at? How important is it for horses that are dropping down in class or going up? Can you explain that to the guys?
It's not a big factor in what I do.
No, it's not. How you don't really look at. Go ahead.
I mean, I have them. I have the class ratings, but it's not something I really incorporate because it tends to be something that attracts a lot of dollars, like when a horse drops, and it's kind of a mixed result. So some of those like beaten, normal kind of factors, like buyer numbers or Ragasons or those speed factors or speed ratings, that are, tops in the race are usually the horses that are the chalk, and class droppers are in that category too, and they attract a lot of dollars.
So people, or
so
sometimes
I don't use them only because of that,
right?
And it's not like something. It's a filter for me. It like eliminates a horse.
Right. So people sometimes think that that just because a horse is dropping down, that it didn't win against better horses, so it'll probably win because it's running against horses that aren't as good as the one they ran in the last race. Correct? That's what the common thought is. But meanwhile, it could mean that the horse isn't any good. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're coming down. Right, Guillermo?
I was going to say it depends if you got a drastic drop, where they were running from. If they're running allowance races and then you see them at a claiming 12 and a half, then to me, the way I look at it is they're trying to get rid of the horse.
Stay away,
They're trying to get their money, whatever they can, to get rid of the horse. I guess it all depends on the drop, how much they're dropping. If it's a couple levels, I don't worry about it. But if you're going from stakes down to claiming races, those are the ones that I'll pass.
Yeah, it's usually an overrated horse right there.
Yeah, exactly. They're just trying to get their money back. Well, get some money back.
Now, what about when you see? I know. I think Ragu likes this spot. What happens when you see a horse that goes up and then goes down, then goes back up again? Isn't that a pretty good sign that this horse might be ready to go? Is that something you look at, Doc?
So about a horse dropping down and going back up in class?
Yeah.
Well, you can look at that a couple of different ways. It depends on how long the horse is. It could be a layoff involved, and they're just trying to, get him back on the track, stretch his legs out a little bit. So, I mean, it just depends on the horse more or less. It's not really an angle I would say, that I would either – I'm not going to say put value in or take some value away from it, but it just depends on the horse and and the situation, but normally I would say it's usually a good sign, because usually, they probably want to tune him up a little bit and then they're bringing him back up to his level, so that could be a good thing. Not to say that you wouldn't bet him that first race.
What was that?
Let me just ask a real, like a real basic question before you even open the form. Do you have like a kind of a like a mindset like this, like some players even going to worry about capping, a race that has less than 6 horses or less than 5 horses, or you know what I mean? Do you have those sort of parameters when you start, like the capping process, or do you just go like from first race to last race? That's always a kind of a question that people ask me, and I have my own answer because I'm not really trying to. I'm already filtering out the races that appear to be very chalky. I'm only looking at the races that appear to be, have some chaos to them or some unknowns that
some value.
I can figure out.
You talk about, how to make that determination, looking at the odds of the race, who's involved in the race. And I mean, we've been very fortunate, as far as horse racing goes for money-making opportunities these past couple of weeks and whatnot, because the fields have been large, number one. Every race has anywhere from, like, say, a minimum of 12 to 14 horses in every race, which is like usually unheard of. Usually you're looking at like 6, 7, 8, 9 horses on average, 8 horses per se. Now you got 14. So that in itself is going to create a good angle. Now, if you have a race where you have, like we had Saturday, we had the Arkansas Derby. We had 2 divisions of it, and that was very chalky. And, Baffert won both races. But you know what? They were much the best horses there. But if somebody and they ran true to form, like, Jimmy made had great success with a pick 5, and in the pick 5, he had 3 of the chalks in the back-to-back races that were going off at real low numbers, and for a 50-cent bet, you almost cash $1,000 winner for a 50-cent bet. That's tremendous, So that tells you the value, like Gas was talking about. So that's how you play. That's a whole other subject. But if we were just dissecting each race, those 3 races, I would have probably said, you know what? I'm not even going to bet those races. I mean, I bet them because, we were doing what we're doing. But if I was going to the track on a normal Saturday, let's say, and I looked at that race and it was real chalky, I would probably stay away from that race, just because.
So is the first lesson really then you shouldn't be looking to bet every race on the card? You go and that's really the first lesson.
And the favorites, you shouldn't be betting favorites.
Pick out the races you want. I mean, it's hard for somebody new. They're just learning how to do it. So, that's different.
Here's
but after you get started, go ahead.
Well, here's the thing about the chalk, okay? Like Gas says, he's off the chalk. He's not betting chalk. The thing about the chalk is the favorites win, let's say, on average 30% of the time. So 3 out of 10 races, that horse is going to lose. And if he's only going off at, let's say, a minimum odds of, let's say, 2 to 1 or 3 to 1, or that's even kind of high. But, let's say he pays like $4 on average. So, you're going to lose money betting that horse every time. So that's why you can't bet the favorites when they only win 30% of the time, just from the simple math aspect of things. But if you have a good angle, or if you got solid interest in some other horses that you think could give a run for your money, then that becomes a better value for you. If you're gonna be on the chalk, and if you're looking at that race and you say, you know what, like I've heard Gas say it himself too, I'm kind of chalky here. Gulfstream, he had a couple races where he's kind of chalky. He had the winners, but he knew he wasn't going to make any money that race.
Yeah, you can't make much money.
It depends on your betting style and what value you're looking for. That's the main thing.
Hey, Guillermo, I have a question for you from the chat. See if you could hit on this point. Pocketful says, in maiden races, what angles do you use other than the jockey trainers to try to successfully cap a maiden race?
Workouts, past performances. That's probably the only things I really look at. I like to look at the works. Some trainers, like Bob Baffert, for instance, he's going to run bullets, or they'll be in the top 5 workouts for the day. I like to look for, like, certain trainers, they'll throw a sneaky little workout in. They'll have a bullet and then they'll come back with 2 workouts later and
Tell
kind
them
of
what a bullet is. Explain what
a bullet is. Ragu explained earlier, the fastest workout of the day at a certain distance, and every so often I'll look out for those, and then I'll look out for the way they train after, the way they work out after that bullet workout. If I see they kind of just hype that bullet workout, then I know they're on something when they come back to the racetrack. But for the most part, I just go by workouts and their past performances and what kind of money they ran at, the distance, what have you.
I mean, what
Yeah,
made
also
it
the odds too. Yeah.
Hey, Goji. Go ahead, Coach.
Well, I was just gonna say the odds there too, guys. I'll look at the odds the horse closed at. So, is it going off at 27-1, 10-1, 13? Like, what are the horses going off at? You can see that too, just to the right of what the horse weighs. But yeah, like you see, like I can see a horse here. Then the Tampa Downs race number 3. There's 2 horse here. It was set 117-1 at a 20K maiden. Then went to a 32 maiden, just a maiden claimer. Went down to 4-1, and then a 16 down to 3-1. So this horse is closing. Like if you see horses, just look at the odds too, guys. It kind of gives you an idea of where they were before, and then you can look at the current odds. It's 9-2. So kind of gives you a comparison of where the horse is kind of at based on the odds.
Right.
The perfect example of that is King Guillermo's horse. when he won the Tampa Bay Derby and paid like $100, and he ran the Arkansas Derby, he was going off at like 3 or 4-1.
Yeah.
So normally you would look at that and you would say this horse is 50-1, and all of a sudden now he's going off at 3-1. No way in the world. But you know what? He ran a pretty decent race, even though he didn't win. He showed up. So it was justified for him. But Ski had a question. He was asking about how many times like we were talking about 30% winners for the favorites. He was wondering how many times they come in second. That's a tough question. Ski, if you look at the form
50.
where the numbers are for the horses, it gives you the win percentage, and you can do the math there. But also there's another number. I think I don't know if the racing form have it. I know the BrizNets do. It tells you how percentage in the money for that horse too. Like I'm looking at a horse on this is from Saturday. There's a horse called Saratogan. He's a 13% winner, but he's like 48% in the money. So you kind of have to use your judgment on that. You got to look at his racing style and see, how many times he hit the board and figure that portion out. And then you can see the price, like Goji was saying, you can see like what he's averaging on the odds. Like
That's
the race
what it
before.
comes down to,
Yeah. So basically, I'll give you a perfect example. He broke his maiden his first race in Tampa. He ran in a $27,000 race. He went off at $7.60 for $1. Okay, he won by a nose. And the very next race, he moved up to what they call an allowance race. So he went from maiden up to 75,000, and he was going off at 60-1, and he finished 9th. So just goes to show you. So that's how you could read into the odds, like Goji was saying. And that was his second race. He's a little young, to make that big jump probably. So, but they threw him in there because it was a big card and there's a big chance for him to get in the race. That was that was the Arkansas Derby. That was his third race. So he broke his maiden, ran an allowance race, and running an Arkansas Derby his third race. And and that day he was going off at 50-1. And I don't even know where he came in. I don't have the record of that, but he was a 2-horse in the last race, a 13th race.
Here's another good question from Pocket Full. I guess you might be able to answer this because you were talking about the workouts. And Guillermo, I'd like to hear what you have to say about it. He says, don't trainers sometimes do game theory and throw the workouts, make it look like the horses are maybe slower than I guess that it should be. Mm-hmm. That's why he personally, and I know Pocket Full's a guy who caps, who's a horse racing capper. He caps it, he knows his horses. He feels like a lot of trainers do that, so he don't really pay attention too much for the workouts. What do you guys think about that?
And what trainers?
Well, he just thinks that certain trainers throw work sometimes. So, do you think they really do that? Gamemanship.
I think the ones that gamble on their horses do. That's kind of the point that I was trying to make earlier. If you see a horse with the bullet workout, and then they come back with 2 average works where it's maybe, for instance, if they're running 4 furlong workout, they got a 47, and then the next time they come out, they run like a 49, and they do that a couple times. I like to look at that angle as them. For me, the way I see it is, they got the workout in, so now they're just gonna let them breathe, let them work out. Yeah. Once they get them to the track, go ahead and fire.
Yeah. I want to elaborate on that a little bit. Now, if you look back at some of his older works, you see a pattern. Like if let's say he runs that bullet, then he kind of just trots him around the track twice, and the third time he runs that bullet, then he tracks him around. You don't think they do that a lot too? Like they know if they want to blow him out, like let's say, a week before the race, and just kind of stretch his legs out maybe a couple times before the race comes.
Yeah, I think that's when they basically time the screws and they just give him the little workouts, and then come race time, that horse is ready. He's already cranked. He's ready. He knows what he's gonna do. I like to look at those angles as well when it comes to workouts.
I have a different take on that. So if you see like a nice work, like I guess we're probably talking about either horses off long layoffs or first time starters, right? Not your claimer that runs every 2 weeks, right? We're talking about a horse been off for a while,
right?
For one week or another. So if you see that good work, and then you see like 2-3 furlong works at like 39, or terrible numbers, right? It's not. I don't think they're necessarily sandbagging, because you don't want to leave your race on the workout, on the workout. So they're just saving that horse. So they know what they got, and they're just trying to keep that, them in kind of condition to flatten them out. So they peaked. So you don't want to run another big workout, like a sharp workout. So I was talking on one of the casts, when you have a double like bullets or like a double gate bullets, it's actually negative. It actually brings down the chances of them winning, because it's too much. It's like it's overkill. You're overtraining.
So is it more about the consistent? Is like, so if say a horse runs the bullet on April 1st, then it runs not the bullet on like the 8th, but it runs the 8th to 15th to 22nd. If it's consistent after that, that's pretty important, eh?
Super important. I was going to say that. That was the next thing I was going to say. It's actually 90% of the pattern that they don't miss a work, rather than the time of the work so great. Most of the time. All right.
That's what I've looked at more. Yeah.
When they miss a work, like they have like a pattern, and my program picks that up and says, okay, yeah, we know the work. And if they're missing a work, their work rating goes way down.
Is there an average time horses work in between? Is there 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks? Is there an average?
Usually, like it's every 5 to 7 days. 5 to 7 days they'll get out.
That's something people should be looking at, to see if those works are within 5 and 7 days, and if they're not, that's something you need to be looking at.
And a lot of times it's for extended period of time.
Okay, I gotcha.
So,
and just so you guys know, a bullet is that black circle. It says workouts. Yeah. There's a dark black circle there. That's what the bullet is.
And I know EQ base there too. You can see all past like years and years of workout, or not years, but like long workouts on EQ base. So
somewhere Equibase, you have a lifetime. Yeah,
lifetime.
That's what I use. That's one of the reasons why the software that I use uses that. Yeah.
Okay. We have to give a big shout out to our boy, our fearless leader, Jimmy the Bags in the house. What's up, Jim?
He's coming in for some lessons tonight. Jimmy coming for some lessons.
Yeah, he has to stop picking names, man. Jimmy, everybody thinks Jimmy picks names, man. That's all he does, is pick names.
No, Jimmy loves picking names.
So I like to just throw out some real basics that I do. Okay, so I've said this several times on the show. I use like the Twin Spires. Number one, it's free. Like anyone, you don't even have to have an account. You can go on there, and there's a whole bunch of handicapping information. Their page numbers, class numbers. It's 100% free for anyone, anywhere in the world. I mean, that's the best F word in the world, right? Right. So you can go on there. Even let's say you got mugged and dragged to the track. You didn't even know, right? And if you got your phone with you, you can go on the app and I could pick winners off of that, like right there, bing, bing, bing. If you had to. You know what I'm saying?
I know DJ does that too. He's got an app that tells him like all like pace and it just kind of summarizes the race, so you don't have to really go.
Yeah, I'll tell you that Twin Spies, man. They like I know Doc's always talked about it and Brisnet and stuff. And once I started looking at that stuff, the information is great. And like Twin Spies, it just click, tells you pace, class, speed. Just click, click, click as a diagram and a line. It's just great. Tells you the first part of the race, the middle part of the race, the end of the race. And it's very informative. It's really good.
And they have profit line on their numbers, which is a really strong tool also.
Right.
Which is free also.
Yeah.
Doc, Bobby B has a question, Doc. How about how much that they pay for horses? How much does that factor into your capping? How much a horse I guess is being paid for or being claimed for?
Zero for me.
Go ahead, Gas. No,
it's zero for me. Go ahead. Yeah.
For me, I put a little credence in it, depending upon the trainer and who handles a horse. Now, you can take a 2-year-old, let's say, and let's say he goes to Joe Blow trainer over here, and he came out of the horse that they paid $200,000 in Keeneland sale, and then you got a $50,000 horse that goes to say over here to, let's say, to somebody like Chad Brown. And he has he's had the horse for let's say he got the horse from somebody else, and he's had the horse for a couple months, and then he puts it on the track for the first time. I'm probably going to bet Chad Brown's horse before I bet Joe Blow's horse. You know what I mean? Even though the horse is $50,000 versus the $200,000, but I know that there's a lot of and that ties back to bloodlines, which is something I like looking at. As far as that goes, depending, and that becomes a class issue there. But early in their career, they're all equal. They're starting out. So absolutely, certain horses have, I would say, an advantage, based on class, where they came from. But over time, you hear the stories. The guy paid $17,000 for his horse, and he just won the Kentucky Derby, California Chrome. So that just goes to show you, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just thinking it's almost like draft picks. It's like a first-round draft pick. Doesn't mean it's going to be a star, right? It could be
right.
There's probably a lot more of those.
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Listen,
Warfront. What do you think about that? Do you look at the, like a guy buys a horse and the next time he runs out after being claimed, is that something that someone should look at?
Not really.
Oh.
Yeah.
You mean like if the horse if it's first off the claim, just in general?
Yeah, or just sometimes somebody might think, well, this guy just bought this horse. He's he's one of the top trainers. There must be
that's something I look at. I look at it actually for all claims, because you get some surprisingly good guys that it's kind of its own little niche, right? It's not going to be the Chad Browns or the Bafferts that are going to be doing that, right? Or the Sadlers. It's going to be your claiming type trainers, and a lot of them are very good off the claim. And so in general, if a horse changes barns, it's generally a good thing. It's like trading. Like, let's say you make a trade for a player, and usually that they got something in mind for that player, right? When they bring him over, I'll say, well, you know what I mean? So if you follow fantasy, if you get a player that's traded, it's usually like, okay, yeah, they must have something. They must have some kind of plan for this guy, because they wouldn't give up nothing for him. They could just wait until he got released, right?
Right.
Yeah. And also one other thing here, there's underneath, like at the bottom, guys, it says trainer, and it'll tell you like dirt to turf routes, maiden claimer. So you can see kind of what the trainer is good at, what it's, might be better at turf compared to maiden specials or maiden claimers. So you'll see trainer bolded, and you can see little like percentage there, 0.9, so on and so on. But that's important too, don't you think, guys? The trainer, and what if it's a turf or a route, so on and so on.
Yeah, certain like trainers taking horses off a layoff. Some
exactly.
Trainers
first off a claim,
second off a claim. Dropping class.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of trainer angles, and those are in the footnotes, like Gogi was saying. I think on the racing form, it's at the bottom of the top section. But if you're looking at the Brisnets, It's in the middle section, towards underneath where the horse information is, where the the pedigree is. It gives you all the
DRF,
trainer
under the workout.
By the workouts. Yeah.
Right.
There's another question. I know Jimmy always mentions the Keelan sales. Guillermo, is that something you look at, the Keelan sales? And could you just explain what that is, what the Keelan sales are? And do you look at that? That's something you look at.
Depends on the type of race.
What is the Keelan sales?
The Keelan sales, where they buy the horses from, as a yearling when they're first, as a 2-year-old, or usually as a yearling, right? Gas station is when they get them from the sales.
It depends. They have they have those 2-year-old in training auctions, and then they have weanlings that they auction also. Yeah, so it's all kinds. It's all different things.
Yeah, because I know it's mentioned a lot. There's all different. Some horses are bought for 10,000, some are bought for 250,000.
Right.
So that's.
Yeah, I mean,
oh wow,
right.
That's something that's not, I wouldn't say debatable, but like if you see Keelan September, like KEESEP, that's like a top sale. That's probably like the best sale in the U.S. as far as blue bloods, you should call them the blue bloods of the industry. That's where they're taking their top products to sell to that Keelan sale in September. So the best horses supposedly are going to come from that sale. Now in Ocala, they have 3 sales a year in Ocala, and the earlier in the year, the better the sale. So basically, they do a sale and it used to be down in Calder, but now Calder's gone. But so basically, if you buy a horse in Florida, like in February, at the 2-year-old sale, that's the better horse. Then they have a midsummer sale, which is like a second crop, and that's a later crop, and then those horses are not supposed to be as good, but it's like a crapshoot anyways, So basically, but the Keelan sale is supposed to be the best sale for the horses
on the market. Yeah.
Yeah.
Top
guy. I went on this tournament. It was like an invitation. Well, I actually had to qualify to go to it. It was in Sioux Falls, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And they spot you up with like 10 grand in cash, and then you have to bet. You have to go through that 10,000 in the 2 days you're there for the tournament, and then they give you prizes and all kinds of fun. But anyways, one of the guys that was there running the IT was the IT guy for Keeneland, right? And he told me, he said they make 1% of their profit at Keeneland on racing, and they make 99% of it on selling horses.
Oh, okay.
So it's like they don't, like if they didn't have racing, it really makes no difference at all for them.
Yeah, because they only race like 3 or 4 weeks out of the year in Keeneland.
Yeah, I think 3 weeks in the spring and 3 or 4 weeks in the fall, something like that.
And how many do they have? Like a March, September, July, or?
No, I believe they have 2, and it's like right after the meet's over. It's like they end the meet on a Sunday, and then they'll have the auction on like a Monday or Tuesday. And
is that in May or June?
Yeah, so that would be like the week of the Derby, it'd be like the Monday before the Derby generally, or Tuesday, and then in the fall they'll have it. So
the fall one's the better one.
But so there's like maybe 20,000-30,000 horses there, right, on the grounds, and they're all like have hip numbers. And online, you can go through the whole roster of horses that are on there. And I think I can't remember because I don't look at it that often. And I think they'll have like a reserve price for each horse, meaning the minimum that they'll auction the horse off for to come back as a buyback to the breeder.
Do you guys pay attention to DPI or SPI ratings especially for first time starters? That was another question.
No, I think that's is that a racing form? Like formula that they have?
I wasn't really sure I wasn't really sure what they are. So I'm not sure. Pocketful was talking about DPI or SPI ratings.
Yeah.
So I wasn't really sure what he meant.
I do have pedigree ratings. for almost all sires. But it's like anything else. If you don't have enough stats,
maybe he means damn pedigree information and sire pedigree information. I don't really know what he means by with those letters. If you guys don't know,
I know what he's talking about.
I get him.
I know what he's talking about. Yeah, my brother looks at those a lot because he used Brist a lot. It's on Brist.
SPR equals sire. Okay, so yeah, we were right. Right, I got you. I figured that.
Yeah.
Right now. So yeah, for damn right. Your brother uses that. You said, I guess.
What do those numbers mean?
Yeah.
Gas, do you know?
It's it's just I think it's a pedigree rating. I do believe. But those are Brist numbers. I don't incorporate them because I have my own that go through Equibase, and then I can screen horses in and out on that overnight. So, yeah, I mean, don't you guys, like, when you guys handicap, right? Aren't you like, isn't it kind of like elimination? Like when you go through like the form, right? You're going through a particular race. Aren't you kind of checking out horses, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
narrowing the field down, absolutely. Like this horse has got no shot. This horse has no interest. Yeah.
Yeah, but what's your process? What races do you throw out? What kind of horses do you throw out?
I do that. I like I was telling you, I go by the race. What is it called? The
speed.
The speed rating numbers that it's usually right next to the odds, right where it has the weight, the odds, and I add the last three numbers up, and I'll write them down next to the horse's name, and I'll do that for the whole race. And I usually go by the top 5, and then that's when I start capping those horses, and that's how I select the horse that I want on top.
So there's certain races that you'll just automatically eliminate certain races.
Well, no. I'm talking about every race. I'll go through follow that process, and then I go by the top 5 horses with the highest numbers, and then I start capping from there.
I used to do that with the dog races. That's how I used to cap dogs.
Yeah, I do what Guillermo does, except I have my computer do all the heavy lifting for me. It'll screen out like 30 different things, right? That eliminate just horses out of there. Like if it's on the vets list, it's out. Right. Like there's no way you're ever going to play a horse. And some people, like if they got front wrap, they're out, right? I mean, like to me, horses first time blinkers out, right? Any kind of sprint dirt race, if they have like they're considered to be a rear runner or not within a certain amount of the length, they're out. Also. So for me,
I've learned that too. Yeah, if I'm not taking many closures at 5.
What the bet numbers are?
Yeah, and so that's what I do. But so I mean, I've heard all kinds of different ways to eliminate horses out of the race.
What did you mean by saying that you eliminate the bet numbers? What is it? What did you mean by that? The first thing you said you eliminate.
Well, I'm getting rid of horses out of there. Like I don't even look at like they're already gone. Like overnight or not overnight, but when I run them in the morning after I get the scratches, I'll have like a list. I'll have a long list of horses that I'm looking at potentially. But I'm also throwing out probably like 80 to 90% of them right off the bat.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? For different reasons.
Based on your system, on that system that you use.
Based on, because what I can do on my software is I have all the races for at least 10 years in all North America. Right. And I can go back through those and filter out things and see what's profitable, not profitable. And then I only keep the stuff that's profitable, all the factors. And it still leaves me like 50,000 horses a year, that are potential bets. Doesn't mean I'm going to get there, but that's like the first cut. I'll make that first cut. And then I'll have this group of horses left. Like it'll eliminate, I don't really know, maybe 80 to 90% of the horses. And then I'm on to the next thing. And then I'm looking at it in a different way. And then I finally get down, if I'm going to look, I have forms like for Twin Spires, and I'll look at the speed figures. And then if I have time, which hopefully I do, I mean, right now I do have lots of time. And then I'll go back and watch the replays, maybe like the last 2 replays for those horses. And I can see whether, those speed figures are legit or not legit. Guillermo knows we were talking about a horse called Farmington. Was it Farmington Hills or Farmington? What is it?
Farmington
In one of
Road.
the big races.
Yeah, Saturday.
Yeah, Farmington, right? And he was the recipient of a great pace breakdown in the previous race. And I said, okay, yeah, he's got a great number, like his speed figure number, but it's probably not going to happen this time, you know, and stuff like that. Those are kind of like the last little touches I do at the end.
See, what I try to do, I try to play out the race in my mind based on the pace. And once I start looking at the pace of the race, like, you know, let's say there's no speed in that race and there's a bunch of closers in there, I'm going to have a tough time capping that race as far as, you know, bringing the closers to the table, but maybe looking for tactical speed now, you know what I mean? So then I'll start looking at horses that could be close to the lead and maybe not necessarily have to, you know, break, have a breakneck speed. They can just kind of run their race, and that kind of eliminates all the closers for me. So now if I have 10 horses in the race, but I got 3, let's say, pressers or stalkers, I'm going to focus on those 3 horses and see who I like. You know, that just depends how the race sets up. I always start with the pace of the race. And of course, I'm always looking at the class too. Class to me is a big thing. I mean, when we're talking grade 1s, grade 2s, not so much serious unless you have like that 2-horse Saratogan who jumped up, you know, from a maiden race 2 races ago. Now he's running in the Arkansas Derby. I'm going to toss his ass out 1, 2, 3, you know, without any question there. So, you know, I'm looking at pace scenarios. I'm looking at not so much the works. Works are kind of tricky, like you were saying, but I'm looking at I'm looking at their race cycle. That's a big thing for me too. Is a horse coming into that third race cycle, you know, that third race off the cycle.
Yeah,
you know, that should be
a question. Explain that, Doc. The cycles.
Okay, so
Goji always looks at the third cycle.
So a horse should run about once a month on average. Okay. That's it. We say about once a month. He should run every 30 days. They're going to run a race. So if a horse has been off, let's say, because these are 3-year-old horses that ran last week. So basically they ran as juveniles, you know, as 2-year-olds, and the clock changes every January. So all these horses that are running now for the Triple Crown, you know, they're 3-year-olds. So basically, let's say that horse hasn't run since November, and here it is February. So now that horse has been off for over 60 days. That's what they consider a layoff. You know, that's a lengthy, somewhat of a lengthy, not too lengthy, but 60 days. So now the clock starts over. So basically, he ran in February. Now he ran in March. Now he ran February, March. His optimum race is going to be in April. If not, then let's say he didn't run until, let's say, March, April, May. This should be his third race. So he should run his first race coming back. Depending on the trainer now, some trainers do good with the layoffs, but other trainers, they know that they're not going to try to push that horse to a certain point unless it's maybe a race that he's tuning up for the following race. So that kind of weighs in. But the racing cycle is the first race back off the layoff, you should see how he's doing. Then the second race, he's going to improve a little bit. And the third race, he's ready to fire. So, and that's all within the 30-day period. So after he's been off for more than 60 days, or even for a new horse, for instance, like this horse, I keep going back to this 2-horse that ran it, but he was just outclassed a little bit. You know, he ran his first race, he broke his maiden. But see, then he came off of a layoff. See, he broke his maiden in Tampa in early February, but he didn't run again until like almost early April, late March. So he had a layoff and he ran 9th. And then he comes back and he runs in the Arkansas Derby, which that was his second race after the layoff, but he was moving too far up in class for him, you know, to kind of compete. So a lot of that's where the class factor comes in. So it's not necessarily one thing. It's a bunch of variables that you got to tie together, but mainly the racing cycles is every 30 days. And after the first race, the second race, and the third race, that horse should be ready to fire. And, you know, should be optimally trained, you know, ready to go. Now there's horses that, you know, they win, you know, 6, 7 times at let's say 15 races, 6, 7 races. You know, let's say there's a 50% win rate, which is phenomenal. But even in the horse game, you know, for a horse to win that many races, you know, that's almost unheard of nowadays. You know, especially on the Triple Crown. Usually, a horse that's running for the Triple Crown, they're lucky if they get six races by the time they run the Derby. So that's another thing too. Depends on what their ultimate goal is. You got to know the trainer. You got to know the background of the horse and what their goals are.
That's something you like to look at, right, Koji? That horse in that third cycle, correct?
I like the third cycle angle. If everything's lining up with the horse, I like that angle a lot.
Yeah, so what's your let me just ask Raghu a question. So what's your criteria for a layoff? How many days does it have to be a layoff? Like 90 days, 45 days?
Usually 60 days, I would consider that. Like if he's missed a month of racing, then I'm saying if he's in that 60 days, that to me is a layoff. It's not a long layoff. Now, I'll never forget one time I was at the track, and it was just dumb luck for me, and I kicked myself afterwards for overanalyzing the race. And it was a race in Saratoga, and I said, man, this horse last time he ran, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, shit, he's ready to go, Well, what it was over a year and change. So I seen that. I said, I got off of the horse. He was going off at a big price, too. I says, well, this horse, I was looking at the racing calendar, and I says, yeah, he's ready to go here. I mean, I said, why is he going off at friggin' 40-something to 1, and then the horse is a beast. And I'm looking at his, I said, he should be ready to go here. And I said, oh, shit, it's over a year this horse has been off. I said, I'm not touching that. And he went out and he fucking won, and he paid like almost $90 to win. But that's something Gas would have probably been on for sure. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
For me, I probably would have used them, let's say, in exotics and stuff, but I wasn't betting exotics. I was just betting like some win money. We're at the track, we're having some fun, so I wasn't really, breaking. I wasn't looking to bet exotics that day. I was just trying to bet win place money, like 50-50, that kind of stuff. But if I was betting like pick 3s and pick 4s and stuff, then I probably would have threw him in there. After I've realized that. So you know what? If this horse runs back to his form back here, he's got a shot going off at 40 to 1. I got to throw him in there, and that's what makes those pick 5s or pick 3s, pick 2, pick 4s pay huge.
What about you, Goji, with that cycle, Goji? Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say, if anything, I like a 3-3-3, 3 weeks, 3 weeks, like even like a month in between is good. But I find even like if I can get a horse. If it's ran, say, April 1st, then April the 21st, and say May the 12th or something like that, I like that angle. Not saying it's any better than the other, but I just find, I don't know, I make a little bit more money.
It's something you look at.
Yeah, like not like 2 weeks, but like, not saying a month in between is bad, but I like to maybe find even 3 weeks in between. Kind of that's like my peak kind of there. Like I think 3-3-3 is my best angle, but. Also, guys, before you even cap a race, you want to know what the hell the weather's doing. Like, you want to check the weather network and see, is it going to be raining? Is it going to be, what's it doing? Because you got to, if it's going to be a muddy condition, well, then you got to look over and see what the horse is doing in the wet surfaces, which you could see where Ragu is going over top right-hand corner. So you got to look at the weather too. But, third form cycle, it's pretty important. But like Gas is saying, it's not, you can't put too much into one thing. But, I think it is
elimination. It's just what people like just to go over what people like take a look at, what the guys could look at, to get themselves better. In the racing form, don't they? Isn't there a line that dark line that goes across the top of the race that denotes 30 days layoff? Correct.
You'll see a line like right across. Yeah, you'll see a line across there. Like I'm looking at the 3 horse here, and I think the last race at Tampa, High Threshold, it ran on the 18th of March. Then it ran on the 17th of April. And now it's going again. So this is going to be its third form cycle. That's pretty much. And then before that, it ran the 12th of January. So it's been about 64 days or so since its last 2 races, which were, like I said, the 18th of March and the 17th of April. So, like I give it a 60-day gap and then about a month in between each start after that.
Gotcha. I understand. One more thing I wanted to touch. Man, we've been at this over an hour. What I was thinking is we could touch maybe 1 or 2 more subjects, and then maybe next week we could come back and get into a little bit more advanced, and you guys could go into conditioning and why you're looking at horses who's with the pedigree and the bloodlines and all that stuff, because I know that's important, and that is a little bit more advanced. But I want to touch on just like the betting, like Guillermo. Do you like for betting, do you look at making pick threes and pick fours and pick fives. What's your feeling on your betting strategy? Do you bet exactas, triples?
I'm more of a pick 3, pick 4, pick 5 guy. I like to spread out my money, only because I don't want to bet every race. Only because you get harder if you don't hit, and it just for me, I'd rather spend the money I was going to spend on every race and kind of spread it out on the pick 4, pick 5 to get some value, get some money back. I like to bet win on a certain race, but as far as exactas, tries, super, it's rare unless I see something I really like. But for the most part, it's pick 3, pick 4, pick 5.
That's where you see the value is, correct?
Exactly, and this way I can sit back and I don't have to spend money on every race. I can, if I hit one, okay, let's let it carry over. I know I remember Jimmy spoke about it, and he said he doesn't like it because he's missing opportunities to bet. Because if you're live in a pick 5, then that means you're winning every race. And I remember he said he's missing that value. But for me personally, I'd rather play pick 4, pick 5, pick 3s, and kind of spread it out. Or if not, I'll bet a win. I bet a win on a certain horse, whatever, win plays.
I love my exacta boxes. I won't lie.
And guys, that's what he means by pick 3s and pick 4s. There's certain group of races where you're picking the winner of, like, let's say the 3rd race, the 4th race, the 5th race. They could have that listed as pick 3. And what you could do is single out. Maybe you like one horse in the 3rd race, and maybe you like 3 or 4 races, and then horses the next race, or 3 or 4 the following race, and you can work your ticket out like that way. You can pick. For 50 cents, you can pick one in each race, one horse from every race, you can pick 1 or 2 for each race. Like, for instance, last week with Jimmy had the pick 5 going, and in the last race he had 5 horses, correct?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had half the field going, so it was in a pretty good spot there. Obviously the tickets are costing more the more horses you have per race. But that's really what they were talking about. Yeah, me too. I fall into the exacta range. I feel like a lot of us more novice guys fall into that exacta stuff quickly. I try to get away. When I start doing bad, I just stop with the exactas and I just go with back to the basics and just try to pick a couple winners. But
you just do what works for you. Do what works for you, really.
Exactly.
Right, but I do love when I do make an exacta. I do love putting a favorite in with 2 long shots. I do like. I've had success with that bet, and I've done pretty well with that bet out of all of them.
I'm gonna throw something up here, Dom, real quick. I'm gonna put the link for this. This looked pretty good. I just found this too. I was saying, what the hell? It's called Handicapping 101. It's a thing that DRF puts out.
Right, and on YouTube, there's videos. There's a reading the racer. Yeah. You just type in reading the racer form on YouTube. They have a part 1 video. They have a part 2 video. There's a lot of stuff.
There you go. You just scroll down here. It says past performance explanations. It says jockey, trainers, speed figures, running style, workouts, career record, closer looks, symbols, types of races. There's a glossary. I mean, there's everything right here. So I'm going to put that link up in the chat before the show's over.
Yeah, that's great.
I'll photocopy that.
It's like everything else. You just, practice and, you get there. Like everything else. Reading the racing form, a little bit of an art. And like they said, now, one more subject I really wanted to touch on was when you're on track, when you go live and you're at the track, what are some of the things that you look at in the back of the racetrack? They have a paddock, and that's where they walk the horses and the jockeys mount the horses and get their instructions from their trainers and stuff. And a lot of people just stay at that paddock, and that's how they bet. They watch the horses and they look for certain things in horses, and they don't even go watch the race. I see it at Belmont all the time. They just watch the race on the big board in the back. They want to look at that horse in the paddock. Guillermo, what's some things you are important to look at with a horse as far as before a race if you're live at the track?
I love the horses that are on their toes, ready to run. I like to look at the dapples. Dapples are the muscles, I guess, the way the body. The dapples are the way their chest, the muscles in their bodies. I like to look for that.
Like a fighter, like a boxer. It's like ripped.
Yeah, right? Just the body structure, the dapples, the muscles. And I also like when horses, when they get nervous, they tend to foam up on the chest. when I see horses like that, I kind of stay away from those horses because usually they're nervous.
You see a lot of horses. I was going to ask you that exact question about the white foam. You see that on some horses that they get to have that.
It can be from the heat, or sometimes they're just nervous. I tend to, if I see a lot of that on a horse, I'll kind of.
That's a red flag for you.
Yeah, it would be a red flag.
You
doesn't mean I'm not gonna bet them. Doesn't mean I won't bet them. It's just something I look at and I'll take into consideration before I go to the window. So
I got you.
Yeah.
And how about you, Gas? When you're looking at a horse?
Well, I mean, other than the obvious that they're freaking out, right? I mean, they're raising hell and throwing the jockey or whatever.
Right.
That's the obvious. One of the things I look at is like the sweat, the kidney sweat, if it's excessive and if it's not really a hot day and you're there. You know where the kidney sweat is, right? It's like, between the legs and the back. It's like all white and foamy and everything.
Okay.
Right? Wow. And if it's a hot day, that's fine. And the horse is pretty calm. The one way you can kind of tell the horse is calm is that their tail is laying flat. A lot of times their tail will be propped up like that, and that's not a good sign. That usually means that they're apprehensive or anything like that.
Gotcha.
It can be race to race for different horses too. Some of the horses I noticed, like the second time out, that's like the first time that they know that they're going to get beat. They're going to get whipped, right? And they don't like it. They know they're going in. It's like when I was talking about this in the chat too. It's like, okay, your mom just told you wait till your father gets home. Your father's going to come home in a few hours,
sweating bullets,
and whip your ass. And so, how you felt then? You didn't probably feel like you could run your best. I'm pretty sure, but kind of apprehensive. So that's kind of how young horses are sometimes. They're about ready to get their ass
ourselves with that analogy. They ain't allowed to do that no more.
Yeah. So that's the things I'm looking for, but. If you can find them and they're like almost like making muffins, with their feet like that. They're kind of a little trotty.
Making muffins.
That's pretty nice. Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah.
Prancing.
Yeah. Right.
They're on their toes. That's what I look for a lot too.
How about you, Doc?
And then you had a horse like Zenyatta that would come out and just stare around and stare everybody down and says, "You fellas, you're going down today," and just take her a little trot and wait at the back of the pack and say, "Okay, now it's time to run." And kick
that was the freakiest thing.
Not only that, when she would just stretch her front leg out, would just kind of bring the
back
to her. That was awesome, man.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That Breeders' Cup run was unbelievable. The first one, I was hoping she'd get the second time, but
we were talking about that with Ragu. I said, I was at Santa Anita when she ran, and I didn't bet her in the race. She was 5-2. I was trying to beat her, but when they hit that stretch, I tore that ticket up. My horse was in the back, and the whole grandstand just exploded. It's one of those feelings you'll never forget, man. That was awesome. That was
There's nothing like having a horse come from the end.
I heard Trevor's call.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, that was awesome.
Unbelievable.
There's a YouTube video of, I think it says that the greatest race ever run, and it's some horse that was way back like 30, 40 lengths, and it just comes closing at the end and wins. It's a pretty good video on YouTube.
Especially when you have money on it, that's the best feeling.
Yeah.
All right, I promised Adam Bowen in here that we talk about the importance, or actually you can compare and contrast, between first quarter speed versus last quarter speed in a race, and what's important and what's not important, or which one's more important, or whatever you feel. So, go ahead. Whoever wants to go first.
You go first.
I'll go first. So, to me, first the first quarter is way more important because, especially on younger horses that haven't developed a style, which is like half the horses out there, they don't know really what they're doing. They're just running and they're as fast as they can, as long as they can, and they kind of develop a style later on. You can see the ability and the energy that they're expending a lot of times in the first few starts of their career in that first quarter. And then they learn to kind of rate a little bit and stretch out their speed. Okay, so that's why it's an emphasis on that. When you start to talk about like final fraction numbers, to me, you have to be horses that are pretty well experienced in doing that. Either turf races or longer races. A lot of times, you can go broke pretty quick betting late running sprinters. They're diamond. I mean, they're 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000 that they really are consistently winning. So that's what I would say. Also, just from a data standpoint, from a profitability, the horses that run early are much more profitable because they'll finish, 10, 20 lengths back, and it looks terrible on a running line, but then they come out, bounce out, and they'll win. And it's not very, very common that happens. Yeah.
Is that for certain distances, or does that hold true for?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
So you prefer front running horses versus the rear pack runners? I know Goji likes the rear guys. Well, what style of horse does it even matter to you?
In the actual race, I don't care, but in the running lines coming up to it, that's when I care. Because I can see the energy. I can see the potential there, right?
Yeah. How about you, G? You look at
I like front to mid pack. Closers those are good, but there's just a lot of luck. Everything's got to open up for you. Everything's got to set up for you as a closer. So
a closer is like a dime a dozen.
Right. Like a Zenyatta, it didn't matter where she was going to get through because she was so much bigger than every horse on the track. I prefer front to the mid pack.
No, I as much as I like my closers, like more I'm listening to Gas. You need to have like a Zulu Alpha, like some special horses that are able to close. Like not a lot of these. You need a horse to be at the front really to have a shot. And if the horse does come from the back, it needs to have a good race. It needs to not get stuck in behind some other horse. You need a jockey that knows what it's doing. Like you need so much other things to go for you. Where if a horse gets the lead, you can have Fanny Olson on it, and as long as she's she doesn't got to do much. Where if a horse has come from the back, you need a lot more. It makes sense that you need a good horse is what it comes down to.
Right.
A really good horse.
You need a good horse. So a good horse is probably more important than a good jockey, correct?
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
100%.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Because I've always heard a jockey could help you lose quicker than he could help you win. If you got
Would you say
horse,
a jockey? Is jockeys more important for a closer horse than a speed horse?
Yeah, I think so.
I think every horse has got 3/8 of a mile in him, her, whatever. They say every horse has got that setup for that quick not burst, but in other words, their strongest portion of the race. Like every horse has got that 3/8 in them. It depends when you push the button. Like you say, in your case, if you got closers, then naturally, you're going to hopefully, depending upon the style race that horse gets involved when, it sets up for that horse to do that. Like Gas was talking about Farmington, right? That perfect meltdown for that horse to win that type of race. But if you have a front runner, you don't have to really worry about it because you're going to go for the lead basically, and hopefully you could kind of slow the pace up and just walk home, if you got slower fractions, and then you can just take off and no one's going to catch you. I know Jimmy's always about that, when we're looking at fractions, like you're looking at 49s, 40 high 48s, that type of stuff. But when you're looking at 46s, low 47s, it's a different setup for the speed horses in that race because that's usually when they get beat up. But unless they go wire the field, but that's the thing with me. That's why I say that's to me the most important thing is how the race sets up with pace. But you got to have the horse first off. First and foremost, you got to have the horse. Then once you look at the contenders, then you got to put the pace together. And then if you get the pace set up you need, then hopefully your pace works out. I've been wrong many a time. Not to say that I've been right more than wrong or one or the other, but I just know that for my I know there's different models in different ways, but just, for me, putting the pencil to the paper and looking at, pace scenarios, I'm sure if I fancied my game up one day and I could push a button and then, tell me what the pace is supposed to be. And I know there's like race lens stuff out there. There's a lot of programs I'm going to start looking into because I want to start playing some of these pick 3s and pick 4s more than I'm playing across the board, like on different races, because like Z said, or G says, he likes to be involved in the race and not bet every race. But me, I'm more of a win place type of guy. And then when I start hitting those win places, I'll get more involved with the exotics, like tries and supers. I'll start playing with the house money, so to speak, if I'm having a decent day. But I'm more like an old school, win place, type bettors. And I might keep some tries here and there cheap, maybe $5-10 on a try or something like that, to have a little fun here and there. Exactas, I know, Dami, you like the box of 3-number exacta box. And we're talking about contests. There's a lot of contests out there that you can get involved with exacta boxes too. 3-number exacta box contests. So you might look in doing that one day.
Yeah. That's interesting, man. That's interesting. Tell you, we went over a lot of stuff. We definitely touched on a whole bunch of stuff, and it's been great, man. It's something you could probably talk on for hours and hours and hours.
Yeah, there's so many variables.
There's no right way, I guess.
When you got 12 horses running away in a race,
right,
and you're just betting win money, you got 11 ways you can lose. So it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a fun thing to do. And if you really do your homework, and you have discipline, just like any other thing, whether you're playing sports or, you're playing cards or whatever it is, you're gambling. Anytime you're putting your money up against other people, like the horse game, see, a lot of people might not know this, but it's what they call a pari-mutuel wager. It's like you're in a poker game and the house takes a cut. The house takes a cut. So the track is taking their percentage right off the top. And then let's say us 5 are at the track and all our money's in the pool. It's me against Dom. It's me against Goji. It's me against Gas. It's me against Guillermo. So may the best man win, and then you chop up the money whoever wins. It's the same thing. It's not like you're betting sports where you got a, I wouldn't even say 50-50 chance because of live betting, but you're not betting against a number. You're betting. It's your money. Hopefully, you're sharper than the other guy, and the value comes into play. It's like when you're looking at the favorite and you're getting off of the favorite, and let's say Gas is on a long shot or Goji's on a medium price horse, and I'm betting the favorite, so I'm feeding these guys their money so they can cash out and take my money and go to the house with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Just remember, horses don't know their odds. They just
right.
Just read the handicap and figure it out. Yeah.
The horses are doing what they want to do. They want to run and run, and that's what they're there to do.
Right. You always got to remember you're still betting on an animal, so anything can happen. You have a lot of conditions going on. You have a surface that they might not like. You have a person on his back. You got a person and whipping them. There's a lot of factors involved. So that makes a lot of sense for sure.
What a show! What a show, guys.
Yeah, it was great, man. We've been on for over an hour and a half, so I guess we'll get off. And there's been a lot of questions in the chat. I've been writing them all down, and like I said, maybe we'll do another show and get into all these questions.
Still half of the racing form to really get to. Like, there's so much more.
Really scratch the surface.
Yeah, exactly.
And we really, we did give some valuable info. As a whole, I know a lot of it, we've been all over the place, jumping back and forth and stuff. Like we tried to put together a little structure in it, but, questions and, one question to the next. So we might have skipped over some things, maybe some of the real basic stuff. But for the most part, I think we covered a fair amount of ground in a short amount of time. So
I think
I might do one morning next week. I might just do it just completely daily racing form, have the picture up and just go point by point, and for those that want to do that, and then we could all come back and get back into stuff, and then maybe just even break down a race like for the next day. Like for instance, tomorrow in Tampa, we could pick a race, and but before we go out of here, Goji, you have any looks for tomorrow? Did you single out any horses you're looking at tomorrow?
Well, I'm just looking at the card now. I got the whole form I just bought there, so I'm going to be capping it tonight. But a little Korean baseball action, guys. I capped a little KBO action here, and I'm looking at I know it's a horse racing show, but I'm looking at the Samsung Lions here, guys. They're a dog. I got them at, I think it was plus like 130. Line was going in NC Dino's favor, but you guys might know this guy. I think it's Ben Lively. He played for the Phillies. He's over pitching for Samsung, and his numbers from what I'm seeing here, his preseason numbers are really good. This pitcher for the Dinos is ours, and I'm gonna roll with Samsung here, guys. I wouldn't go crazy, but that's where my money is tonight.
That's cool. Hey,
thanks for that info,
Lion.
Tomorrow, I'm not sure if Jimmy's still in the chat. Maybe you can tell us what time the first race is. But tomorrow, you guys look for Jimmy. He'll be on doing Tampa Bay. I know there's no Gulfstream tomorrow. I guess
I think Jimmy's just doing it on Thursday there, Dom.
Oh,
Isn't he Thursday to
Thursdays.
Sunday?
I'm sorry. I got my days in my week all mixed up every week. I don't know
All
what
right.
day. Know what's on tomorrow night? Jimmy's on tomorrow night. He does his live show
That's
tomorrow
right.
night. Last week we did the buying picks. The week before that he did can you make a living out of handicapping? And tomorrow night he's doing a subject about
The top
who's
capper.
the best handicapper in the world? How can we find out who the best handicapper in the world is? How should they have contests like they do, like the World Series of Poker, or like they do with the football contest at the Westgate? Should there be like contests like that for handicappers? It's a good subject. So guys, that's 8:00 tomorrow night on Jimmy's channel, on the Odds HQ YouTube channel, and that's Odds 110 on the Twitter. So check that out. Goji, before we leave, what do you tell us where you can find us? Let them know about your quick little service.
Yeah, sure. I'll just be quick here, guys. Yeah, I got some stuff at pickcity.com there, some horse picks I give out there. But for the most part, I look forward to jumping on with you guys on Saturdays there, and always being on the Chat with Jimmy show for 6 hours from Thursday to Sunday, guys. It's a great time. I know you guys are already there, but if you're not, get over there. And thanks for bringing me on, Dom, Ricci, Big Ragu, Dom, Guillermo, Gas, everyone in the chat, guys. You guys rock, and look forward to the next time we do this.
Thanks, Goji.
Thanks for coming in, brother. We appreciate you.
Gas station. You want to say something to the crowd before we get out of here?
Yeah. Okay. So we've been having capping yesterday and today on Skywalker DFS. Pretty much all day. Guillermo's been on there. We was on there Sunday night. I don't know if he was on yesterday or not, but I'm on there usually a couple hours a day. If you guys want to tune in, I don't think the show will start tomorrow until probably 11:30 in the morning Pacific, so like 2:30. So it'll start a little late. I'm just looking at the races. Look like the races go until about 7:00 Eastern tomorrow. So you guys want to check that out?
What is that on? What is it on, Gas?
Skywalker DFS, Daily Fantasy Sports.
Is that a
lot of the guys
channel?
that are in here, they know.
He's on
YouTube channel. Right.
Yeah, YouTube channel, and we'll put that. We'll definitely. I'll definitely put that link up on
he
my.
does them when Jimmy's not on. We do horses on there.
Yeah, I know he does it at night. I know he
for
follows us on Saturday, does Remington, and I know he does stuff like that. So that's great.
Yeah.
All right, cool, Gas. And what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is @SoccerSucks. SUX. @SoccerSucks.
I love it. All right, Gas, man. We appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much for coming on, man. And we'll do it. We'll do it again. Do it again.
Thanks.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun.
Care,
And we appreciate all the help you give us, Guillermo, you want to say shout out to the peeps?
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone that's on here. Thanks for supporting this channel. Thanks for having me on, Dom, Ragu.
Oh,
I appreciate you guys a lot. It's a lot of fun.
love you.
Always appreciate you, man.
I appreciate that, man. And shout out to Jimmy for keeping this all going. And catch me on Jimmy's show, more or less. Yeah.
We'll be rocking and rolling. Thanks, G, for coming on. Man.
Hey, I appreciate it, you guys. You guys have a good night.
We'll see you at the track, my man.
Sure. You got it, man. Thank you, guys.
All right, brother.
All right.
Yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. Doc, with you, this was a lot of fun, man. Me and Ragu really appreciate everybody coming in and checking out the BetWise Sports Network. We're going to be doing a lot of things coming up, so be looking for us. Give us a like, give us a follow on our YouTube and our Twitter, and we'll be having a BetWise YouTube channel up soon, and a bunch of stuff. So keep your eyes and ears open. You can find me at Dom541 and or Dom Ricci, and guys, I love you guys coming in, man. I really appreciate it. Doc, you want to say anything?
Yeah, Dom, appreciate all the work. Appreciate the behind the scenes stuff we got going on. Like you said, we're going to have some stuff coming up as things start to get back to normal. We're going to create a little bit of normalcy in our own lives, and we're going to make some stuff happen. So we'll keep popping off with these little informational YouTube videos we're going to do, on Twitter and whatnot. And then, Saturday we're still going to do the horse shows, and we'll have other stuff come up in between. But yeah, we know we threw a lot of stuff at you pretty quick tonight, but go back and watch it and check out those tutorials. I put the links in the chat, and get yourself familiar with horse racing. It's a lot of fun. That's all. Have fun with it.
Any questions, man, you can DM either me or Doc, or we go anytime. On Twitter, DM us, or you can send me an email. I'm at Dom Ricci, RICI57@gmail. You can always send me an email. We'll definitely answer you. It was great, everybody coming in, man. We appreciate it, and we'll see you at the window, right, Doc?
We'll see you at the window, my man. Have a good night.